Greetings, my people, and Renee, your love power goddess, on the second video of today. A very wonderful Cancer type day. Okay, today is June 23rd, I believe, and it is Tuesday, which is my day off, and my time to be with each and every one of you, sharing from one of my favorite books, Ancient Astrological Secrets of the Jews Revealed by astrologer Reuven Shamrani. And so it is time to read from the sign of Cancer. And my people, I have no idea what our friend Mr. Shamrani is going to reveal from the Kabbalistic perspective. He is such a character. I don't know if he's in the land of the living anymore, but I'm always thoroughly entertained by what it is that he says because he brings it with such fire. He's such a righteous indignation almost, of such an arrogance, a truthful arrogance about him, you know? I agree with him, and I have, I don't know how I feel about his delivery. I'm not enthused, but amused. Yeah, that's the word. I'm amused by him and how seriously he took reading, unless of course he's an actor or was an actor and he's just bringing edutainment to us. But anyway, what is it that he is saying today for the sign of Cancer, the crab, June 22nd through July 23rd? Okay. The ruling intelligence of the sign, Levi, spite, force. Planetary ruler, the moon, which is governed by the Sephirah, Gabriel, strength and grace, but also capable of inconstancy, death. The covert and the fickleness of whim. Kabbalistic number 9. The specific qualities endowed or particularly emphasized by each of the signs' decanates are as follows. June 22nd through July 1st, inclusive, self-pity, envy, vindictiveness, quick alert mind. June 2nd through the 13th, inclusive, spite and selfishness, desire for material success, talent for making money. July 14th through 23rd, inclusive, hypercritical, nagging nature, great reliance on force and harsh methods. Okay, my people, yeah, okay, I'm getting the gist now. I think I'm finally understanding. He's simply talking about the dark side. He emphasizes the dark side of the signs. I mean, when I first started and I started reading Pisces, yeah, I started reading Pisces, and he was just so completely opposite with Pisces. And like I said before, I just thought that he was going to be showing that kind of love and care and concern and upliftment, encouragement for all the signs, but no, it's not like that. So yeah, let's see what he's going to say. Once again, we encounter a vast disparity between the assessments of modern astrologers and those of the ancients. In recent decades, it has been the custom to describe Cancer in rather sympathetic terms. For example, we usually read that fourth sign natives are highly emotional, imaginative, timid, retiring, self-effacing, burdened by inhibitions and anxieties, unselfish, self-sacrificing, home-loving, and at worst, somewhat suspicious, secretive, and hypersensitive. He's about to go in, my people. Let me get a sip of my coffee here. Even I felt that way about Cancer. I was hoping that he wouldn't come too hard on them because they wouldn't be able to take it. Well, I'm getting ready to learn what time it really is with Cancer now. Okay. Now let us take Chaldean, Egyptian, and Hebrew evaluations of Cancer. These classify the sign as feminine, passive, negative, and nocturnal. My book is falling apart. Oh man, I'm gonna have to get some tape out for this because I got to keep this book. I doubt that I'll be able to get another copy of it. All right. The last implying as let me reread that. Let me stop interrupting myself. Now let us take Chaldean, Egyptian, and Hebrew evaluations of Cancer. These classify the sign as feminine, passive, negative, and nocturnal. The last implying a strong tendency to be furtive, do things covertly. Kabbalah, Zohar, and similar works hold Cancer to be closely related to Gemini in the sense that this sign too is destructive and liable to be violent. Anger, wrath, and cruelty are qualities ascribed to Cancer. Readers may be interested in the references made to Levi, allegorically Cancer, in Genesis 49, 5, 6, and 7. See, that's what I love about this book, because he talks about the Old Testament from the ancient Kabbalistic, what's that word he just used? Allegorical way, okay? The stories in the Old Testament are allegories. Not meant to be taken literally, okay? While the astrology of antiquity does credit Cancer with having good and positive qualities, as we shall see later in this chapter, it does not view the sign as a particularly benign or happy one. The perceptive, neutral observer may well find that the old assessment finally answers a great many points and questions which modern astrology has never managed to resolve satisfactorily when dealing with Cancer. However, we must remember that a foremost authority on Kabbalah and Zohar has written, modern astrologers inclined to be all sticky sweetness and rosy light and pretend there are no malign or negative influences in the universe. For discussion of these might dishearten the squeamish. Yep. The moon is traditionally described as cold, aloof, cruel, inconstant, exerting a malignant undertow. Restlessness, sensuality, greed, avarice, indolence, self-indulgence, chronic discontent are some other negative attributes ascribed to the moon and said to be bestowed by adverse lunar influence. Levi is the governing intelligence and the moon the ruling planet of Cancer. Thus, we may be excused for wondering how modern astrologers arrive at and justify their meek and mild assessments of fourth sign character and personality. We must reiterate here the definite comment of Hebrew astrology on Gemini and Cancer, which is taken from the Old Testament. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitations. Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I wonder what. By contrast, here are keywords for Cancer taken from a recently published modern astrology book. Imagination, tenacity, domesticity, generosity, sympathy, patience, loyalty. The only comment possible here is a dismayed shake of the head. Now then, what of the positive qualities the Hebrew astrologers attributed to Cancer? The traits are consonant with the Kabbalistic number 9. Briefly stated, they are capacity for mental and spiritual achievement, romantic and passionate nature, love of beauty, vision and idealism, desire to help others. In the Kabbalah, Netzah, 7, is the masculine principle, and Had, 8, is the female. Yesod, 9, is the blending of both, the link between the mundane and the spiritual. Or as the Zohar has it, Yesod is the channel for the creative power of the universe to man. It exerts a strong influence which often serves to moderate the force of malefic and negative influences exerted by the sign and its intelligence, ruling planet, and its sephira. You, the individual, it's highly possible that you have managed to bring the more palpably destructive traits in your personality under control, complete control. However, it's virtually a certainty that some vestigial remnants of the most common fourth sign negative qualities remain. Among these, there are probably fierce possessiveness. Now, I know somebody who's a Cancer is super possessive. I know that's a true one. Pessimism, a compulsive tendency to find fault, criticize, complain, and nag for any reason and at every opportunity. I don't know about that. Afflicted or badly aspected Cancer natives are hostile, foul-tempered, vindictive, envious, jealous, capable of fierce and lasting hatred. They are likely to be vituperative. Oh my God. Vicious, vengeful, and to strike back stealthily from the least expected quarters. Oh my God. Okay. Positive, well-aspected fourth sign folk do not possess these. Okay, that was the foul aspects. See, that's another aspect of astrology and the astrological signs. When you are looking at the entire chart, where other planets fall and the types of angles they create, because different angles have different kinds of energy. Some are negative, some are positive. If you have a sign that, if Cancer is your sign, and this doesn't of course apply to every Cancer, but it can be any sign. I mean, if Cancer is supposed to be a certain type of personality and have certain traits, and your other planets fall into alignment and aspect the planet that rules Cancer in a negative way, that then amplifies the negative aspects, the negative side of Cancers, certain traits, negative traits. And that is something to take into consideration. And that's what's so fantastic about astrology. If you look at your chart, you can see this, and then you can check to see if you look at your chart and you read all of these different things and you see these negative aspects, then you can get to work on correcting them. But some people, if they have certain kinds of qualities, negative qualities, they may or may not see it in themselves, and therefore if they see it, fine, they might decide to work on it and correct it. It's no big deal to correct the negative things. But if they don't see it, or they refuse to see it, then that means they don't intend to correct it, so they continue to have these kinds of things. That's what this thing is. It's not to say that whatever negative qualities you have can't simply be changed. Just if you did some affirmations, okay, if you're a negative person because you're Cancer, whatever, you can simply do some affirmations and change that. It's not like you're etched in stone based on what your sign is and the types of and where the planets fall and what kind of angles they create, whether they create negative ones or positive ones. Then that's where you are, and whatever it is, you're stuck with it. That's not what this is about, my people. So yes. So we should never take any of this stuff personally to heart. We can just say, well, you know what? Okay, if that's me, okay, it may or may not even be you. But if it is you, and you decide, well, you know what? If that's me, then I'm going to change. I'm going to work on changing it. It's easy. Anyway, Bar Ezra, in an early commentary on the Kabbalah, wrote of this Cancerian tendency. The temple may withstand the ravages of violent storm, but in time will crumble as the tiny trickle eats away its foundation. Perhaps, Cancer, it would be wise for you to revise some estimates of yourself. Begin by realizing that you have a wide array of fine potentials and examine these in proper perspective through the distortion-free lens provided by Hebrew astrology. You are endowed with a remarkable memory. Use this constructively. Remember those things that are positive and useful. Do not employ memory to store up resentments and grudges, to recall even the most insignificant slights and hurts so that you can go on and on about them. Don't do that. Imagination and tenacity of purpose are two more qualities with which you are endowed in exceptional measure. Use that imagination as an aid to progress, not as a vehicle for conjuring up all the worst possible interpretations of what has been said or done, and the most dismal expectations for the future. Be tenacious, yes, in striving for worthwhile goals, but do not make that all too common Cancerian error of perverting tenacity into fierce, pernicious clinging or lockjaw determination to hold on at all costs, regardless of the realities of the situation or the consequences that will result. Curb your fourth sign instincts to retaliate. Better still, grow a thicker emotional skin and eliminate the hypersensitiveness that permits you to bruise so easily and magnifies the slightest injury into an excruciating agony that demands revenge and retaliation. Many Cancerians suffer from deep-seated feelings of personal inferiority. Anxiety over what will happen to them in the future is at once an outgrowth and vicious circle intensifier of this sense of inferiority. If you are a fourth sign person who fits into the immediately foregoing category, you should undertake a major personality overhaul. Begin by making a detailed objective evaluation of yourself, thereby pinpointing your many strengths and positive traits to eliminate feelings of inferiority. That accomplished, you will begin to see that you can control your destiny and determine to great extent what your future will hold. Accentuate the constructive qualities of your nature. Be more aggressive without being hostile or defensive. Do your utmost to overcome fault-finding, nagging tendencies, especially your moon-endowed tendencies to be suspicious, secretive, withdrawn, and inner-directed. Bear in mind that moon and lunar influences are inconstant. It is risky to place reliance on them. Realize that lunar phases are fast changing, and this is symbolic of the rapidly changing character of lunar influences. Above all, try adjusting to a new and different concept of yourself as a person. Understand that you are a much more complex personality than conventional modern astrology has heretofore led you to believe. Revise self-estimates in light of the much more realistic and incisive fourth sign analyses provided by Hebrew astrology. Face up to the fact that there are destructive qualities in Cancerian nature. Once you admit this, you have gone a long way towards minimizing the effect of these minus traits. And of course, you will be easing many uncertainties and doubts about yourself that arose from an inability to fashion an accurate personality profile by using conventional astrological interpretations. Make the most of mind power. Imagination and memory are the two mental long suits of Cancer. However, their force and effectiveness are frequently lessened by the extremely emotional character of fourth sign people. Many of you permit your feelings to govern your mind and thought processes. Obviously, emotional decisions are valid and dependable only in certain situations. They are seldom likely to produce positive results in those situations where calm, objective assessments must be made and decisions rendered on the basis of factual considerations. Then, the tendency to let emotions have free rein poses other threats and dangers. Not the least among these is the likelihood that emotionally motivated Cancerians will overreact when confronted by a given set of circumstances. They will judge by feeling, and the feelings will probably swing wildly in one direction or another unreasonably, illogically, and unproductively. The supersensitivity of fourth sign natives is yet another quality that interferes with full utilization of mind power. When one is easily hurt or insulted, one cannot bring much reason to bear in dealing with everyday problems. You Cancerians possess the intellectual potential needed to cope with the problems of life and living. The trouble is that you do not give that potential the opportunity to assert itself. It is essential that you realize this basic truth. There must be adequate control of emotions before intellect can exert guiding and directing influence on your life and activities. The astrology of antiquity acknowledged that Cancerian natives very often had high success quotients, and that their mental equipment was more than sufficient for them to achieve and attain. However, the ancient scholars warned fourth sign natives very often limited their horizons by deliberately narrowing their minds. Commented Bar Levi, these are people who would examine every last kernel of grain in the measure. This, of course, paraphrases the more familiar homily about not being able to see the forest for the trees, and it is a trenchant observation on Cancerian nature. You fourth sign folk do tend to pay more attention to the small details than to any whole. This reflects your extreme caution and your suspicion. You focus your minds down to a point where you really do want to examine every last kernel, because there is fear over the possibility that everyone is out to cheat you. While a reasonable degree of caution is always wise and prudent, you Cancerians are apt to carry caution to such extremes that caution becomes the end unto itself, and therefore nothing constructive is accomplished. It is almost axiomatic that any person who is suspicious of all others will act in such a manner as to make others suspicious of him. Cancerians are seldom able to grasp this. Their minds view everything around them with suspicion. They are secretive, closed. To the outside world it seems evident that they must have something to hide, and thus their motives, actions, honesty, and integrity are frequently assumed to be questionable. Another fault preventing Cancerians from realizing their full intellectual potential is inability to forgive or forget, a quality that is very often full-scale vindictiveness. A mind filled with rancors and resentments, dwelling constantly on hopes and plans for retribution and revenge, has little room and energy left for anything else. The brooding, emotion-charged desire and drive to get even debilitates and drains intellectual energy banks. Furthermore, this is an essentially destructive drive. A mind that is habituated to think in the destructive terms implicit in revenge seeking cannot readily switch over to constructive patterns of thought. If you are one of those fourth sign natives whose mind power seems to be operating at half strength, here are some excellent and highly practical counsels you should follow. Number 1, seek to revise the intellectual emotional power ratio in your makeup. Learn to place greater reliance on mind than on emotion. Think, don't merely feel your way to decision. Adapt a more lenient and trusting attitude. Exercise reasonable caution, but do not suspect everyone else of the worst and imagine that deceit and treachery lurk everywhere. 3. Shed quickly any typical fourth sign feelings of inferiority. You are certainly as good as anyone else, at least at the starting line. From there on, it depends on what you do with your brain, actively and constructively. 4. Grow an extra protective layer over your hypersensitive spots. Stop being the easily bruised, delicately petaled blossom. It is not an attractive or productive role. Accept the world as it is and don't react as though you have been mortally wounded whenever you experience a minor rebuff or disappointment. 5. Overcome those tendencies to be vindictive. Concentrate on getting ahead yourself rather than getting even with others. You'll be most pleasantly surprised, even astounded, to discover how much more you'll accomplish. Interacting with others. Conventional astrologers describe Cancerians as shy, timid, loving, open-hearted, giving, self-sacrificing, retiring, introverted, sympathetic, kind, warm, reticent, compassionate. These qualities, they say, are decisive in establishing the patterns of fourth sign natives' relationships with other people. The ancients disagree on several counts. Hebrew astrology, as we have already seen, places heavy emphasis on the destructive and the cruelty to be found in Cancer. Furthermore, it argues that Cancerians often find it quite difficult to interact with other people, and, in fact, they often prefer to cut themselves off from the mainstream. Some original sources even declare that many Cancerians possess distinct misanthropic qualities. The main keys to fourth sign success in human relationships are the need for complete trust and confidence. All of Cancer's fears, anxieties, and suspicions must be allayed. Natives of this sign must have constant reassurance, praise, and flattery. They must be made to feel that in the eyes of other people they are beyond reproach and, indeed, nonpareils. Only then can Cancer reciprocate. The reciprocation very often takes the form of extreme possessiveness, even a desperate clinging. There is a powerful element of maternal love in any friendship or relationship with Cancer, being overly protective, often literally smothering the relationship in protective emotion that becomes cloying pathos. It is most probably for these reasons that Cancerian people usually center their interests and affections on family and home. Ordinary friendships seldom provide ample opportunity for the individual to be protective, to plan and guide the lives of others, and complain and nag when they fail to live up to each and every hope and expectation. The positive qualities, all the kindly virtues of Cancer which are extolled by modern astrologers, manifest themselves actively in family and domestic situations. It is here, and usually only here, that the Cancerian person is able to collect the payment of love, appreciation, adulation, and praise for warmth, affection, and love given. In any event, Cancer, it's not very probable that you're the type of person who will have many or casual friends, nor will you have a large circle of acquaintances in your job situation with whom you work closely and get along easily. It's likely you'll be reticent and reluctant. You'll doubt other people's sincerity and motives. You'll be afraid that they might cause you problems or difficulties, or that they'll worm their way into your confidence and then do you harm. Then, of course, there's that hypercritical, fault-finding facet to your nature. On the other hand, you have feelings of inferiority. On the one hand, you have feelings of inferiority. On the other, you are certain that no other person is as good as you are or do things as well as you can. Finally, you have some rather straight-laced views and attitudes on human behavior, thought, and what you define as morals and ethics. Here you set yourself up as the final arbiter and believe that your beliefs and standards are the ultimate and the only valid criteria. Naturally, others do not take very well to this sort of outlook. They feel that they are entitled to establish and live by their own codes without interference or criticism from anyone, including you. Hence, frictions arise in your personal relationships. To overcome these drawbacks, it's necessary for you to realize that improvement must be made within yourself. You are the one who must adapt and be more tolerant. Romantic relationships. Cancerian nature is, as we've noted, extremely emotional. In love, Cancerians are just as extremely romantic and sentimental. They want to cherish, protect, and pour out affection. Contrary to the analyses of most modern astrologers, the ancients recognized Cancer to be a very highly sexed sign, albeit a frequently repressed and inhibited one. Furthermore, Hebrew astrology differs greatly with the conventional present-day system in regard to fourth sign sexual behavior patterns, holding that Cancerians tend to be fickle, promiscuous. But the sages of antiquity pointed out natives of this sign are likely to be secretive and furtive in their affairs. And while they seldom have any qualms or hesitation about being unfaithful to a partner, they demand absolute fidelity from that partner. And the Cancerian who becomes involved in a romantic situation is certain to be intensely jealous and possessive, with fourth sign vindictiveness at its strongest when a native believes there has been any wrongdoing by the partner. You Cancerian people cannot stand ridicule or criticism, particularly not from anyone with whom you are romantically involved. A single untoward word will cause you to plunge into a vile, brooding mood from which it is extremely difficult to move you. As in other areas, you are not very willing to give the same consideration you demand. Let the person you love make the tiniest mistake, and you will nag and carp, complain and criticize until only sheer exhaustion forces you to stop. Cancerians are ideally suited for marriage, provided they have found the kind of mates who will meet their requirements. Fourth sign folk are happiest when they can concentrate all their formidable sentimental love and protective instincts on someone to whom they are legally married. The formal, conventional marital ties give them a sense of security and of ownership. Once married, a partner cannot easily end the relationship and perforce must take whatever Cancer cares to give out, be it overprotective, smothering love, or nagging and scolding. Cancerian males are protective, supportive, and extremely possessive husbands. They are likely to establish many rules and to expect rigid compliance with them. While they will be good providers, they are seldom spendthrifts, and they keep a close eye on the family budget. Fourth sign females are equipped to be good wives. However, some tend to be weepy and sloppily sentimental. Yet others demand so much praise and flattery that their husbands have no time or strength left for anything else. And still others go into marriage as shrews, and within a very short time turn into, sluttish viragos. I don't know what that means. The moderns claim that Cancerian people are all perfect spouses, or very close to being perfect. The ancients warn otherwise. They say that fourth sign may, and sometimes does, produce men and women with superior potential for marriage, but that anyone contemplating marriage with a Cancerian should be very certain of the individual involved before taking the big step into matrimony. Mastery in the material sphere. Cancerian tenacity enables natives of this sign to achieve their material goals, provided they have mastered their emotions and made full use of their intellectual powers. Original sources agree that fourth sign people are very favorably aspected to achieve success in business and finance. This is certainly borne out by the examples of such Cancerian natives as John D. Rockefeller and John Wanamaker. Cancerian women are excellent nurses, social workers, and school teachers. Males do very well in the hotel or restaurant business. Natives of both sexes are diligent, thrifty, and have the capacity for performing routine and detailed work. Their conservative natures tend to keep them in established fields of endeavor. It's not likely that a Cancerian will succeed in an entirely new field, for this person is not an originator or innovator. All Cancerians should give consideration to dealing in or collecting antiques, old books, stamps, or coins. These promise them good profits. Details by decanates. First decan, June 22nd through July 1st. A good, alert brain and considerable ability. However, people born during this period are apt to be adversely influenced by Venus, ruler of the decanate. They will be self-pitying, envious, especially vindictive. These attributes will operate against them, and they are likely to become sour, embittered people. Second decan, July 2nd through the 13th. Mercury rules this decan and causes considerable mischief. Natives tend to be selfish and spiteful, but they are highly gifted to make money, which is their principal aim and purpose in life. Males of this decan are usually somewhat more pleasant people than their female counterparts. Neither male nor female is notable for being generous with money. Third decan, July 14th through the 23rd. The moon governs this decan, just as it rules the sign. Double lunar influence brings out the very worst in Cancerian nature and temperament. People born during this period exemplify the hypercritical, and nagging traits that are among the least admirable Cancerian qualities. Furthermore, the cruelty and ruthlessness which Hebrew astrology ascribes to the fourth sign becomes most evident in natives born during this period. There is violence in third decadent Cancerians, and they are not remiss to use force or harsh methods to gain their ends. Okay, my people, that is Mr. Shamrani's take based on his knowledge of the Hebrew Kabbalah system as it pertains to Cancer. Yeah, what can I say? I need to do my own, look at my own chart in terms of where Cancer lies in my my chart, because I see some of those tendencies of Cancerian or Cancer in my own self. The distrustful part, not the cruel part, but just the part about not trusting and being suspicious and that kind of thing. I see that in myself. I don't trust a whole lot of what. So I wonder if that has to do with where Cancer lies in my chart. I have a couple of charts done. One has my Cancer in Mars, and I think that that's a negative aspect. Mars and Cancer, yeah. And then there's another chart that has my Mars in Gemini, and yeah, like our brother Tahuti Matra, who used to go on and on and on and on and on about having Mars in Gemini. Yeah, but anyway, I gotta learn more about my Cancer aspects and see if it could you know, tell me something about this distrustfulness that I have about stuff. Not so much people, but just anyway. So yes, my people, that is what our astrologer Mr. Shamrani has to say about Cancer. And like I said before in the beginning of this video, that all of those things are not, absolutely not etched in stone. They're just a snapshot, and I'll just keep saying it, just a snapshot of the place and time that you were born, and the alignment of the planets at that time, and the types of angles they created with each other, because based on where the planets are in relation to each other, and whether or not within the whole circle, the whole 360 degrees of the wheel, certain angles interact with each other a certain way. So, like if, I'm not even going to try to explain all of that right now. It's just that you need to have your own chart. You know, I can't call myself that type of astrologist who knows it, astrologer who knows it that well that I can sit here and try to break it all down. But I know this, that where the planets are in relation to each other has a lot to do with how they affect us based on where we, you know, what sign we happen to have. Okay, if the moon is in the seventh house, or you know, that kind of stuff, it has some kind of, or Jupiter is aligned with Mars, okay, you might have some peace. Anyway, so yeah, it all interacts with each other and interacts on us. It has an effect on us, and it is not something, like I said, that is etched in stone. It is just a place from where you can work. Okay, if I know that I have a lot of problems with distrustfulness, then I need to do affirmations or do something that helps me to reduce that kind of a fear-based tendency, because that's what it is. It's fear-based. And maybe I can sit down with myself and determine why I have that kind of fear. Did something happen in my life, in my childhood, that made me feel so distrustful of people or places or situations or whatever? I can sit down with myself and determine that, and then make the decision. Oh, okay, yeah, I see this. Okay, well, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to stop being so distrustful. Okay, I'm going to stop feeling so fearful. That's all it is, okay? So you work for what it does. It tells you something about yourself. It gives you a place to look. It opens your eyes to you. It reveals yourself to you, okay? And then you can say, oh, dang, all right, well, well, see, I got it popping in that regard, so I'm all good. No wonder I'm good at talking, and then, that kind of, it just helps you to understand yourself, that's all. And it doesn't, just because you are this doesn't mean you can never be. Just because you are a Cancer does not mean that you can't develop your Sagittarius tendencies, the positive ones, of course. You can be and do whatever you want, pretty much. Be, whatever. All right, my people, I've talked long enough, okay? I just want to make sure that we understand that this stuff is not etched in stone. That's just pretty much the bottom line, because this brother, Mr. Shamrani, really brings it, okay? He talks it. Everybody's messed up according to this book. But what it is for him, obviously, is that he just wants to put the truth out there, the hard truth, and from there we can, if we can deal with the hard truth, then from there we can move forward and come to the realization, rather than, like I said before, believing in the fluff and then being confused about yourself because you believe in fluff, okay? You don't want to believe in fluff, you want to believe in truth. Alright, my people, so yes, once again, that is Ancient Astrological Secrets of the Jews Revealed by Mr. Shamrani, and he is talking about Cancer at this particular time. So, thank you, each and every one of you, for watching this video today. Share it all around and all across your social media networks, okay? Upload it if you want. I don't care. Download it, upload it, do whatever you think you want to do, okay? Share the news of Cancer with everybody. All right? Peace and love to each and every one of you. Peace.